Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing good today. Now I'm joined by Dee, and today we're going to look ahead to the Arsenal Crystal Palace game this weekend to preview it. But first of all, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I've had better days. We're just coming off a defeat, which of course always stings. But of course, there's no real time to um, down on the previous game. We've got a massive game coming up against Arsenal, which is going to be difficult. But thank you for having me on the channel.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm really excited to, talk a bit about the game coming up. As you mentioned as well, you did lose yesterday. How does that sort of make you feel? Obviously, going to the game at the weekend, because obviously, because we've had a bit more of a rest, you've done pretty good in the league as well. Do you think it affects the team going to the game at the weekend?
I don't think so. Ever since Glasner has joined Palace, we have reacted well to setbacks, and the mentality from the team is we approach every game with the idea of winning. We don't like to approach games to say, "Oh, let's get a draw against Arsenal." I think the mentality will be right based on what the manager said. It is an unfortunate defeat, a disappointing defeat. Of course, it hurts. But it should give the players a bit more of a motivation to go into this one trying to correct things rather than being down on it. So that's the type of mentality that we have in the squad right now, going into the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we will be reacting because as I've as everyone knows, you'd be one of the best sides, in my opinion, not in the entire Premier League, but in the whole of Europe, especially defensively. So it's not going to be an easy task, and the players know that we can't be complacent, and we won't be complacent. So, yeah, won't be an easy tie, but I'm not that worried about the mentality going into this one.
Yeah, I think you have those days where you do struggle to win, and I think you've done really good, like, in the Premier League. I think you've had a good start personally as someone as an
Mm.
outsider. I think going into this game, I'm nervous because I think you've done really good. Obviously, you beat Liverpool as well. You've got you've had quite a few good wins, and I think you've been playing really good. Obviously with like the league, do you feel happy with obviously how you've done? I know you're currently eighth at the moment. Would you say that you've had a good start in your opinion?
Yeah, we've had a good start. I think we could have even had a better start if we took our chances, and that's been our main problem against Bournemouth. We started a bit too slow, but I think they were the best side that we've faced so far this season. And despite starting slow and being 2-0 down, we still managed to come back. And the game ended in 3-3, which was a crazy game. But I think overall in the entire Premier League, even if you do agree or don't agree with the stats, if you look at just by the eye test, we do create chances. We've created the most chances in the entire Premier League. However, our problems, even against Larnaca in the Conference League, has been taking those chances at times. So I think we could have easily had more wins. We should have had more wins so far this season. And the crazy thing about that is, if you have more wins, where on earth would we be right now in the Premier League? Would be right up there. So I think if our fortunes change and we can actually start taking our chances a bit more, we'll be picking up even more wins. But as you've said, sitting eighth right now in the Premier League, 1 or 2 wins, and you're basically there with the whole pack. It's not a bad position to be in.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, I mean, you could be higher up at the table, which is like, probably crazy to think, and you've done really good. And that's why
Mm.
going into this game, I'm a bit nervous because you never give up. You do always fight to the end, and I think that's great quality to have as well. Obviously, for Crystal Palace players, which sort of players do you think will make it hard for Arsenal in this game? Because I think you've got some quality players in your team.
I think on a counter attack, if there's any spacing behind, Ismail Assar is the one to look out for. His pace on the ball and also his strength makes him a proper threat. But if you do end up sitting back and if we can't have any transitions, then you can take out Sarr from the game because he's good with spacing behind. Also, we've got Adam Wharton in midfield, who's been very good for us in terms of creating chances in that midfield too. Sitting a bit deeper, and he's been a great deep line playmaker for us. So he's another one. And Jeremy Pino, Mateta. We have threats. We do have threats. It's not like we don't. But of course, it's also not. an easy game, and we do have to take our chances. Pino has had chances. Mateta's had more chances than he scored so far this season. He could have easily had way more goals, and that's been the main issue for us, taking those chances. So, in front of goal, we got pressed until it comes in towards the front of goal, and you have to take this chance. And that's where sometimes this season some of these plays have disappeared. But it hasn't been awful. We still scored goals. We just can't score more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as well, I wanted to ask you a bit about Eze because obviously Odegaard's injured. I mean, he was playing before Odegaard was injured, but he's obviously he's got a big role here now, Arsenal, to kind of step up now while Odegaard's injured. What have you sort of made of him coming to Arsenal and sort of playing against him for the game at the weekend?
Of course, Eze has the respect of, I think, all Palace fans because of what we achieved in the FA Cup run. And I think it was just a natural career progression for him. He's not the youngest of players. He's, of course, been an Arsenal fan, being in the Arsenal Academy in his younger days before, I think, getting released. So he's always had this love for Arsenal. So the money was right. The timing was right, especially after winning the FA Cup. So there's no hard feelings in that regards. In terms of facing him, we was literally talking about it on our channel in our preview, talking about, what type of game are we expecting from Eze. The players know him well. So, and Glazer also knows his strengths well and his weaknesses. So I'm not exactly quite too sure. I think he will naturally have a point to prove. Not really a point to prove, but, when you're facing your former side, you just want to make sure you get the better of the result. And so he'll be up for it. But I don't know what to really expect. Of course, he hasn't scored a goal yet in the Premier League. I'm a bit worried about that stat because it'll be so typical of him to score his first goal against Palace. But apart from that, he's very good at operating in tight spaces, and I think we'll be sitting back and hitting Arsenal on counter attack. So let's see what he does.
Yeah, I think I think his only goal he scored was against Port Vale. He has gotten close a few times, but it would be good to see him get a goal. I think he's obviously in a big role now, obviously with Odegaard, not being here. You do want him to sort of step up. I think he's improving. I think he has been a little bit quiet, but I think he'll do well, and I'm hoping that he can really help us out in the game at the weekend. But obviously, going into the game, you mentioned Arsenal as well. We've been doing quite good at the moment. Obviously, I was not expecting us to beat Atletico Madrid 4-0. I was a bit surprised. But how do you feel, obviously, coming up against Arsenal? Because we're obviously top of the league. We do feel like we're in a good place. Obviously, this game is a must-win. I'm not bothered really how we win. I just think we have to just get a win. But how do you feel, obviously, coming up against Arsenal?
Look, I do feel like you've got the most balanced squad in the entire league. Going into the season, I think Liverpool had their defensive concerns, Chelsea likewise, and there was question marks over City. But Arsenal's real problems of the past were solved by bringing in Eze and Gyökeres. You needed a striker, you needed another crazy player. In fact, you even brought in more depth in defense. So if you have one or two injuries, these players can step up. So Arsenal are my favorites to go win the league. And I think the main concern really is defensively, how can we create chances? Because it has been a struggle against a lot of sides. Saying that, you're facing a side on paper that's created the highest proportion of XG, if you care about that or not. I mean, we do create chances, so that's going to be the real test. But we have to be clinical. And you don't give away that many chances. So the one or two chances that we do create, we have to make sure we are much better in front of goal than we have been so far this season. So if we can take our chances, then I think it could be an exciting game. But I'm more concerned about your set pieces. Set pieces for Arsenal is like penalties at times. It's like you lot are just bound to score. So as long as we can limit the set pieces, that improves our margins by a tiny bit more. So it is going to take a lot for Palace to get something out of this game. But if we go and frustrate you lot in open play, limit the chances, we are meant to be a good defensive side. Apart from the last 3 games, we've conceded 6 goals, 3 against Bournemouth, 1 against Lineker, and 2 against Everton. So it hasn't been the best of individual performances defensively. We have kind of lacked at times. However, when you're looking at the bigger picture as a team, facing top opposition, especially the traditional Big Six sides, we have actually benefited because of the fact that those sides are less likely to sit back and attack us, so there's more spacing behind. So in a way, this game should be totally different to what we saw against Larnaca, and that's the main reason why I'm looking forward to it, because Arsenal should be attacking us, and they have been very good so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously as well had a few changes in the team as well. I have heard today as well with Gabriel Magalhaes, he might not be playing, so we might see a few changes of our team. But I think defensively, I think we're quite good. Raya's definitely settled into Arsenal now. I think as well, I think creativity can be a problem at times for us. I think obviously the other day we were good with it, but in the league, our performances haven't particularly been, great. We've not played that beautiful free-flowing football in many games in the season. Obviously against Fulham, you'll take the win at the end of the day. I was happy with that, but I think it's going to be a really tough game actually. When I'm looking ahead to it, I'm thinking, is it going to be a draw? Are we going to sneak a win? It's so tough because you've been doing so well. You got some great players that have, quality going forwards. But obviously as well, Martinelli, he's done well in the Champions League. Trossard's obviously helped us at Fulham. So I don't know, obviously, what Arteta is going to go for. I wanted to ask you a bit about Arteta before we obviously ran the show up, because for me, personally, watching the season, I think he made a few mistakes. At the start, he's obviously doing a lot better now. I think he's been getting the lineups right and doing much better. What do you think Arteta can sort of do to see the season? Because when I watched us the other night, I thought, we can play that well, we can, play that exciting football, but sometimes we don't always do that. Do you think that Arteta could win Arsenal a trophy this season?
I think Arteta should win Arsenal a trophy.
Yeah.
The fact that, Palace have won the FA Cup, Newcastle won the League Cup, there's opportunities that have been there, but his main focus has been the league. And you have been in similar positions to this in previous seasons. You started off the season well, but when it comes to around April, May, March times, that's when you can lose an odd game or two, which the other teams normally catch up. So I think this season there's no real excuses. I think Arsenal should be winning a trophy by a minimum. But when you're talking about which trophy that will be, you should be doing well domestically in terms of the cup competition. But I think primarily there's no excuse for you lot not to go at this point and win the league. I mean, what else do you need in this squad? The squad depth is there. The squad has experience competing at the top. Now they just have to get the job done. The main thing about me with Arteta has been that there are certain managers who are good coaches. They can coach players well. They can get, improved players. But when it comes to winning, it's different. You can have good coaches that might not be real winners, and you don't need to be winning at this point. So that's the biggest question mark for me with Arteta. Despite saying that, I'm still having you as a favourite, but just because you've started the season well, that's not my main reason for having you up there. I think at this point it's just a combination of stuff, and there's no excuses. I think if you do end up failing, the players take responsibility, but I think once again, more than likely, I'm predicting it'll be because of the manager, because I think in the past it has been at times. But as you said, he's got lineups correct so far this season. Even subs, I remember the City game. The lineup was completely wrong, in my opinion, from a neutral perspective. Half time, he made the changes. It was positive. So it seems like he's slowly adapting to it and getting things right. So, he has to win. He has to win for a club like Arsenal to go this many years without winning a major trophy. It's not good enough, is it?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think he did get a few things wrong. Obviously, Mourinho midfield, we know that it just doesn't work, and I think he's definitely been getting things right now, and we've been getting results as well. But like you said, we've gone such a while without winning, trophy, whether that's an FA Cup, the Champions League. I think we just have to win something this season. I think Arteta needs to win something this season as well. So I really do hope Arteta can get us some silverware. Obviously about the game, I just wanted to get your score predictions as well before we obviously end the show.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards a 2-1 Arsenal win. I think set pieces, I can just see a goal being conceded from a set piece due to how good you have been. But if we can perform on the day, I wouldn't write us off getting maybe even a point, a 1-0, but I'm going to stick with a 2-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn actually. I'm thinking 2-1 Arsenal, 1-1. It does depend. I mean, I think I'd definitely take a 2-1. I think, as you mentioned, the set pieces were quite good at doing that. And that, like you said, it's like our version of a penalty. We're very good at that. So, yeah, obviously, I'm really looking forward to the game. Thank you as well for coming on. I do really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. And I've honestly loved chatting with you today. So, thank you so much.
No worries. I appreciate you having me on the channel, and all the best for the rest of the season apart from Sunday.
Yeah, you too. A prediction here, 3-1. I mean, I don't think I'm 3-1, but I'll definitely take that.
Well, you haven't thrashed us. I mean,
Yeah.
not too long ago, I mean, Jesus came back from his injury. Well, of course, he's out for this one. And then he was struggling to score goals. And then he ended up scoring 5 goals in a few days against Palace. So you never know. You never know. With Arsenal, we have struggled. So I wouldn't write it off being like a 3-1 Arsenal win as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love that, obviously. But yeah, obviously, big up to the chat as well. Thank you, everyone that has watched my show today. It's been obviously good fun. Hopefully, Arsenal get a win at the weekend. But obviously, appreciate everyone that's watched this. Do make sure you do smash them likes and, of course, subscribe. And I will see you all in my next video.